Howdy, soldiers. It's time to get cozy. Oh, I just realized I blend right into my chair. It's like, ooh, can you see me? Where am I? You never know. It's the holiday season and I thought I would make you all feel very warm and welcome. I have my fireplace on, I have my tree lit, and I'm drinking a chai because we're about to get spicy in today's video. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Rachel and my claim to fame is that I currently have 120 something thousand followers on TikTok, and it's because I yell about books a lot. I've also been a book blogger for going on 10 years now, and because I spend so much of my time, money, and energy on Booktok, I myself have been influenced to buy a title or two, so I thought it would be a very fun video to go over my top 5 best and top 5 worst books that I have read because of Booktok. Disclaimer number 1, if I talk shit about one of your favorite books, guess what? This is my channel and you're watching a video that I made about me and my opinions, so opinions are what make the world go round. If you love a book that I didn't like, that's great. I love that for you. Disclaimer number 2 is that I tried to boil this list down to books that I would not, in my regular book blogging career, have gone out of my way to read. So like books that were huge on Booktok this year that I would have bought regardless if I had seen them on Booktok or not were like Book of Night by Holly Black, Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed, Nona the Ninth. Like those were going to be getting read by me regardless of like what platform I saw them on. I'm talking about books that Booktok in particular specifically influenced me to pull my credit card out and spend my Canadian dollars on that I would have not bought otherwise. Or books that I was sent because of my Booktok influence that I would not have picked up for myself and ended up really, really loving. And third, before we start, I would like to talk about some people who sent me some very lovely things lately, and that is Louisa Jewelry. Louisa is a carbon neutral, sustainable jewelry brand that I worked with in the summer and had a really great time with, and they reached out to me again recently asking if they could send me some pieces, and of course I said yes. They recently dropped a silver collection, and if you know me, I almost exclusively wear silver jewelry. So the first piece I want to talk about are actually the earrings I'm wearing right now. These are the silver Frida Hug Hoop freshwater pearl earrings, and I love them. They're subtle and classy. I'm somebody who waited 27 years to get their ears pierced. I just got these done in September, so now they're just healed enough that I can start actually wearing earrings on a regular basis, and I feel like these are going to be in my regular rotation for sure. Now I know I just said I was excited about their silver collection drop, but this gold necklace caught my eye as well. I was like, oh, she's different, she's mysterious, and that is the gold and onyx Emerson necklace. As soon as I saw it, I thought, ooh, perfect dark academia necklace. Oh, she's elegant, she's mysterious, she has a secret. Like, what will happen if you look into the mirror, you know, what are you gonna see? I should clarify, I don't think Ana Luisa sells cursed jewelry. As far as I know, that is not under any sustainability initiative. And lastly is a necklace that as soon as I saw it, I knew I needed to have it in my life. This is one of the most beautiful pieces of jewelry I have ever seen. It makes me feel like some kind of queen out of a fantasy novel, and that is the Hannah Lee heart necklace in green. I also like that it opens at the front, so you're not just fiddling around behind your neck for 12 minutes trying to clasp a necklace shut. This is a slightly thicker chain dipped in rhodium with a beautiful emerald heart-shaped nano gem pendant that I think is so elegant, but also has a bit of a fantasy twist. And I kind of want that for all my outfits. If you like any of the pieces that I showed or want to check out more of Ana Luisa's jewelry, their website is going to be linked in my description box, and you can use code AModelWho'sRead for 20% off your order. They're also currently having a buy one, get one 50% off sale for Christmas, so you know, if you want to buy one for you and one for your mom, or one for you and your cousin, and one for you and another one for you, you can do that. So now that I've shown you a bunch of pretty sparkly things, buckle your seatbelts because we are going to get into the flaming hot opinions that I have had about books I read from Booktok this year. And fingers crossed by the end of it, Ana Luisa does not regret partnering with me on this video. So how I'm gonna do this video is we're gonna talk about a book that I loved, and then we're gonna talk about a book that I hated, right? I think that's only fair. Why don't we start with something positive, right? That's fun. I put off reading this book for a while. I was getting punched in the face about reading it every time I opened TikTok, and I don't like getting punched in the face, so that was a bit of a turnoff. But I recently read, finished, and loved The Atlas 6 by Olive E. Blake. And because I'm assuming most of you watching this are also on Booktok, you probably already will have heard of The Atlas 6, but in case for some reason you haven't, this is an alternative history, contemporary, new adult novel that follows 6 new recruits of the mysterious Alexandrian Society, which is a secret society that studies magic, power, knowledge, and the universe, where our 6 main characters are all fighting for rank, but also having to work together when external forces threaten the society. And maybe this says something about me, but god damn, I love every single one of these horrible people. Everybody in here is scheming and conniving and devious and constantly trying to manipulate others. And because these characters all have different types of magic, be physical or mental, the way that they are trying to pit each other against one another, but then also figuring out ways to meld magic is also just like so fascinating. It's fast-paced and dark and intriguing and like so twisty, and knowledge is carnage, and you should never ever underestimate your opponent. So this next book I had about as much fun with as I would a can of expired pineapples. I hate this book with a passion, and that is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I'm especially mad because in theory I like this book. It's about scientist named B, and she's developing these helmets to help the NASA astronauts, and the guy that she's paired with on this project is like somebody she used to work with in university who they never really liked each other, but then we learn more about each other and oh hey, we fall in love, and like doesn't that just sound cute? You know, I love women with colored hair who are in STEM. I love men who are big on social justice and have nice hair, right? Who doesn't? But B. Koningswasser is the most frustrating, insufferable character that I have ever read. She's not like other girls. She like faints at stuffed spiders and like names each of her toes and like only swears in desserts. She's like so quirky. And I cannot handle it. And I swear this book is a Mad Lib. Like nothing makes sense. And then just like the ending is like a 2009 Tumblr girly writing Wattpad fanfic, and there is a time and a place for that. But not in the book where you're trying to tell me this woman is one of the best astrophysicists in our generation who is like a real adult who has sex. Absolutely not. And our love interest Levi is just... he's too tall. It's sus. So even though I might consider reading something from her in the future, I would like to burn this book under a Bunsen burner, though that might damage the fume hoods. That's right, I used to work in science. I know what lab safety procedures look like. This next book is the perfect example of a book that I don't think I would have even known about if not for Booktok. And I'm so glad that I did, because I gave this book 5 stars. It was one of the weirdest, most traumatic, grossest books that I have ever read in my life. And I loved it. I bought Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. This book is not for you if you have a plague phobia, religious trauma, or don't like body horror. However, I am triple vaxxed, not religious, and don't mind reading about people puking up their liquefied internal organs. This is a post-apocalyptic biblical Armageddon novel where our main character, Ben, is a trans boy who's running away from his cult that has already infected him with a disease that will slowly turn him into a monster of biblical proportions. But he gets taken in by a group of queer teens who are trying to take down his previous cult, and he's trying to both help them but also hide how monstrous that he's becoming. I didn't know that it was physically possible to put that much body horror in 400 pages, but here we are. I could wring this out like a towel. It is so full of gore. This is a bubbling, sinewy mess full of teeth and eyes that is also so full of like queer found family and amazing friendship dynamics and finding yourself at the end of the world. This is one of the most unique books I have ever read. And since joining Booktok, I've learned about so many more indie presses. So this is by indie press Peachtree Teen, and I don't think I ever would have come across them if not for Booktok. So I love that. Okay, it's time for a book that I did not like. Here's one that I was actually really disappointed in for a variety of reasons. I know Booktok loves this sapphic romance novel, and I really didn't. And that was The Romance Recipe by... one second. You know, I should at least know the name of the person that I'm about to eviscerate on the internet. Ruby Barrett. I'm sorry, Ruby Barrett. This was how you say not it. This was supposed to be a super hot lesbian romance novel about a cook and a restaurant owner and them helping each other out with a TV show that was coming into town they're both filming for. And they fall in love while saving the restaurant, happily ever after. However, this is where all those thousands of dollars of my English degree come in handy when we're talking about deconstructing a book. I think this book was not very well written, but only because the whole beginning was placed wrong. The whole tension of the restaurant owner and the new chef butting heads over the direction to take the restaurant in, that's good tension. But we don't see any of the build up. We're introduced to them kind of mid-fight. So we never see them meeting, we never see why they disagree. So it felt really rushed of suddenly they're attracted to one another and suddenly we're having sex in the kitchen and suddenly all this stuff is happening, where it was like, well, I don't believe you because you told me all these things and you didn't show me any of it. Also, the written voice of both of these characters skewed very young. Both of them are supposed to be in their 30s. I was like, what? No, this feels weird and wrong. I'm really upset about it because I know Booktok loves this book. Okay, but actually that is a phenomenal segue that I did not plan into a book that does the enemies to lovers on TV while butting heads about a personal project the right way. See, I was going to include Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, but then I thought, well, I just finished Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and I loved both of them, so I'm gonna include them as one unit because guess what? It's my video, I can do whatever I want, and you're not my real dad. These are two novels in the Bright Falls Companion series that are all these amazing queer rom-coms that I have just fallen head over heels in love with. If you're out here thinking I'm reading straight romance, in this economy? Delilah is a New York photographer who comes back to her hometown for her stepsister Astrid's wedding, only to find out that the marriage is not as it seems and all of her friends are trying to help Astrid break it off. But as the wedding draws closer and her family gets more and more intense, she starts to fall in love with the bookstore owner Claire, who is a friend of Astrid's, and they've had some misunderstandings in the past. Astrid, who is an overachieving interior designer who has just broken off an engagement and her business is a little on the rocks, so she takes on a job with this kind of HGTV show to help remodel this local bed and breakfast. And our other character, Jordan, is the granddaughter of the lady who owns the bed and breakfast, and they butt heads over the interior design, and it's getting all recorded on camera. So even though the show is making them play up that enemy energy, the two of them eventually learn more about each other and slowly fall in love. These books are so fun and flirty and really focus on queer women's joy and the exciting feelings of falling in love, but also have some super deep, hard-hitting themes of like breaking out of familial expectations and like learning to hold yourself accountable to other people and like not rushing into relationships when you're not ready. Like, I love to see it. Delilah is a delight. She's snarky and upfront, and I love watching her ruffle all of her family's feathers. And then Astrid is just so full of gay panic that it's very relatable. And as I've said in another video of mine, this year I really started getting into romance novels because of Booktok, whereas before I never really thought that like purely romance novels were my thing. But then I saw my Booktok friends getting like so happy and excited about all these books, and I was like, I'm missing out on something. Like, I gotta check out what's going on in romance nowadays. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's really opened up my reading world to a bunch of wonderful, adorable, happy, like heartwarming stories, just like Delilah and Astrid. What goes up must come down. Now we're gonna talk about another book that I did not like this year. Objectively, I didn't hate this book. I think I actually left a pretty good rating for it on Goodreads, but the more I think about it, the more angry I get about it. Raincoast sent me a copy of I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston, and even though I quite enjoyed Red, White, and Royal Blue and cried my eyes out of the ending of One Last Stop, I have complicated feelings towards this. Our main character Chloe has an academic rivalry with the blonde, beautiful, perfect Shara Wheeler, who corners her in an elevator and kisses her, only to go missing the next day, and she's left all these envelopes with clues with the people that she has kissed. So Chloe teams up with Shara's boyfriend and also Shara's friend from childhood, and they try to figure out where she has gone and also who else that she's kissed and what secrets that she's keeping. So I have a multitude of problems that I would like to bring up with this book, mostly writing related. Warning for all of you watching, there's no way for me to talk about why I didn't like this book without giving major spoilers. So take initiative and just move the little circle thing just a little over until the time slot that I stop talking about this book, okay? Great. My first problem, this book is labeled a romantic comedy, and it is not romantic nor a comedy. This is a thriller novel that has a feel-good gay subplot. I get where we were going with this whole rivals to enemies to lovers and like we're both terrible people, but it doesn't matter because we love each other anyway. But Casey, I just think, missed it a bit. Like, they took the shot and the ball did not go into the net. The hoop? I don't know sports. Why do you guys like each other? Is my main question. Like, we never get to know. It's just that they are fighting all the time. There's not a spark of enjoyment to it ever. They're just both mean to each other. And then the mystery of like, where is Shara? Are we gonna get to her in time? We do, like, really fast, like before we're even halfway down the novel, and then it's like, I'm sorry, wait, what? I have to like recalculate what I think the plot line is going to be. It wasn't twisted and dark enough to be like a psychological thriller, but it was also too intense to really be a lighter, happier, coming into yourself, coming of age novel. It was just very dissonant. You know, folks, life is full of surprises and opportunities. And this next book that I want to talk about is one that I wholeheartedly endorse as one of my favorite fantasy novels now of all time. Without Booktok, I likely would have never been able to get this book. I wouldn't have been able to become friends with the author online. I wouldn't have been able to get an advance copy through Angry Robot Press. And I sure as hell wouldn't have been able to interview the author on her debut winter fantasy, and that is Ledge by Stacey McEwen. Stacey, aka Stace Bookspace on TikTok, has written a phenomenally frosty adult winter fantasy novel that I am astounded with. Our main character Dawson is part of a community that lives on this icy, isolated mountain shelf, and every few months there are these creatures called glacians that swoop down and take one of the villagers, and they're taken away. We've never seen them again. Now it is Dawson's turn to be reaped, and when she's taken to this magical palace, and it turns out that the glacians are in the middle of political upheaval, so she escapes with a half glacian named Ryan, and the two of them are fighting for survival as they get down the mountain, and then are trying to connect all of the various rebel groups to go up and help overthrow the king. Dawson has an axe, and she is just swinging that thing around. She is one of the most capable fighters that I have ever read. Ryan and Dawson are the blueprint for enemies to lovers. The way that they banter and argue, like the tension is just so palpable. And I especially love and appreciate the way that their relationship develops, particularly because they are from two very separate worlds and they're two very separate people, and how kind of by the end of the novel, they realize that both of them, you know, love each other and they're there to support one another, but ultimately they have their own journeys and they are not going to get in the way of the other person making the decisions that they think are best for them. You are dropped onto the side of a mountain, and from then on, it is just survival mode X Games. It is intense, and the action sequences are so well done. You feel like you're right in the middle of it, like trying to avoid a blow of an axe or like a sword or like a wing or something. I will leave my interview with Stacey in the cards for you to go and check out and learn more about how this book came to be. And also Stacey's hilarious, so you definitely should follow her. Okay, so number 4 of the worst books that I've read this year was a sequel that I was extraordinarily disappointed in, which is doubly unfortunate because last year, in 2021, I just had to think what year it was, Kingdom of the Wicked was one of my favorite books of 2021. It was this cool story about like witches and demons and different circles of hell and breaking family curses, and even though it was YA, it was a little sexy, so I was expecting the sequel to be like more curse breaking, delving deeper into the different circles of hell, specifically Pride, because that was heavily foreshadowed. But instead we get our two leads being put in what I'm told by the youths are sexy, compromising positions, but to me just feel uncomfortable and honestly a bit predatory. Also, this book asks a major question called, what is plot continuity and why bother with it? Like, all the plot beats of this story were completely different than anything that was set up in the first book. Like, what the heck even is this? This is a full separate other book. Why are we in a field of flowers doing nothing for like 5 whole chapters? And something similar to this can happen when an author sells a book as a 1-book deal and it does really well. Sometimes a publisher will ask them to write a sequel even though the first book was kind of wrapped up and finished, and that's why a sequel to that book can sometimes feel really disjointed, or it's like pulling at nitpicky plot points. That's not the case with this. I'm pretty sure when Kingdom of the Wicked was pitched, it was published as a 2-book deal that then got made into a trilogy. So Carrie, you knew that this was going to be at least 2 books. So, like, what the heck happened here? This book was cursed, so I guess you got that right. Yeah, I'm not committing to the rest of this series. I'm really kind of upset about it. Okay, so what just happened is that I realized that by starting with a favorite book of mine, that means that I would have to end with one of the books that I liked the least. But I don't want to do that. I want to end with one of my favorite books, because these two are sisters, so we're just gonna break the rules and we're gonna talk about another book that I disliked first, and don't pretend that you don't all love it. I know none of you are here for my sparkling personality. You're here to hear the Booktok slander, and I get that and I respect it, so let's go. I am especially put out by this book because, like I mentioned earlier, this is a year that I really started getting into romance novels, and who is a romance queen on Booktok? None other than prolific smut writer herself, Katie Robert. Now, Katie Robert has a backlist that's big enough to rival, like, Stephen King. That means that there are some of her books that she's read that are not for me, and I found that out the hard way because one of my least favorite books that I read this year was Court of the Vampire Queen. Y'all, I went into this book expecting a campy, smutty vampire novel with like a poly power square, and instead I got Breeding Kink. Look, if it's for you, go bananas, but it sure as hell is not for me in my corner of the internet. Main character is this half vampire girl who's like given to this other rich vampire dude as like a live-in blood bag dispenser kind of a thing. And then, oh hey, his friends are really hot, so we're all gonna have sex, and then also plot to take down this girl's father who's like a bad vampire dude. And like, that sounded so fun. But there was an extraordinary amount of sexy times to get pregnant scenes that made me very uncomfortable. Also, this main character cannot stick to a decision to save her life, and it's very frustrating. The character development is shoddy at best, and the pacing of this novel is atrocious because it is pure smut. All smut, no plot, for 200 pages until the book raises its head from its lust-fueled state and is like, oh, shit, we needed stuff to happen. Okay, so now they all have powers, and this guy is now after them out of apparently nowhere. Done. Speaking from both a personal and an editorial standpoint, this book is not her best. And I never would have known that if not for Booktok. So thank you to all my friends in the dark romance community. You know, what's a little emotional trauma between colleagues? And lastly, I'm going to give a callback to about 3 minutes ago, where I said that the last two books were sister books, because the last of my top 5 favorite books that I have read in 2022 because of Booktok was Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. This is the third in her Dark Olympus series, and like, I like Neon Gods enough that when I got sent this, I was like, all right, sure, why not? And the chokehold that this book has me in, oh my god. In this world, the Greek gods are not gods, but they are positions of power within a city. And in this book, there's a competition to decide who is going to be the next Ares. Achilles and his partner Patroclus are both entering the competition to gain rank, whereas Helen, who is the sister of the current Zeus, is entering the competition in hopes of escaping an arranged marriage. And though they start off as rivals, as the competition gets deeper and more dangerous, they end up having to team up, and some romantic shenanigans may occur. This is how you do a poly-power throuple the right way. I love the established relationship and connection that Achilles and Patroclus have, but then that relationship of Helen and Patroclus is very different than the way that Achilles and Helen interact, and when all three of them are together, they're there to support one another and like help each other out, but also challenge and push one another in the group. The competition itself is American Ninja Warrior intense, but then all of the sexy times are like so well-paced, super spicy, very fun mentally as well. I really love their dynamic. I love where the series is going. I think that is that on that. Oh my god, we did it. There are the top 5 books that I have read and loved, and the top 5 books that I have read and hated in 2022 that I would not have read if not for Booktok. Booktok is a bit of a Wild West situation where you never quite know if you're gonna like something that someone else recommends, but like when you find the people that like consistently recommend stuff that you love. You just kind of like glom onto them. And that's basically what my friend group on Booktok is. I have a select circle of friends that I now trust with my bookshelves and my life, if need be. I also love finding new creators and authors to follow and like seeing what all these other people recommend. And like half of these books I never would have picked up if not for other people influencing me and, you know, expanding my boundaries of what I think that I like to read. And I try to continuously do that every year. Please leave down below some books that you've read that surprised you this year. And if you would like to get any of the jewelry that I showed off today, or anything else for that matter, you can use code AModelWho'sRead at analuisany.com, which I will leave once again in the description box for you to all check out. 2022 has been a wild ride. And you know, who knows what's gonna happen in 2023, but I can say right now, the fantasy lineup of 2023 has me in a freaking chokehold. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I hope all of you are enjoying the beginning of the holiday season of whatever holiday that you celebrate in the winter time. I just put up my tree the other day and I got my rainbow, my little rainbow ornament, and I have my dinosaurs, which a lot of people who follow me online, especially on Instagram, I posted a picture of this and everyone's like, the dinosaurs! Also, I see your comments. There's some bones on here too. Don't you worry. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!